Hello, folks. Sorry about that little hiccup there at the front, but stuff like that happens when you haven't been on Hangouts for a pretty good long time. I do apologize for not being on Hangouts forever and a day. It's been about 7 months since the first part of the year. Just been very busy with guitar stuff about writing. If you go back and view that, you'll see what I was going on. But I want to talk today about building a song with just 2 chords. And basically, this is going to be just a random jam of me playing, trying to figure some stuff out. I've had melodies and things in my head to go along with just 2 chords, those 2 that I just played there for you. And I'll adjust the camera here in just a little bit when I get to playing so that you can see what I'm doing. Still haven't found a good way, a good position to play in for, guitar. It slides off I've got some shorts on now that are very, kind of like that mesh workout material that the guitar just will not sit on it at all, but they're comfortable, so I just keep using them. But today I'm using my Fender Stratocaster, my Texas Blues guitar from the people at Axe Rap, or Axe Raps, if they're still in business. A couple of years ago, I've got a video on my YouTube channel about me putting this thing on. And it's been very durable. It's stood up to me playing a lot on it. Actually, not a whole lot, but just lately I've been wanting to get back into that nice Stratocaster sound. And this thing keeps awesome tune because it's got some Spursel locking tuners, and it's also got a hip shop trim setter installed in it. So. But anyway, I just want to go over this song. I'm thinking about doing another Hangout maybe this Tuesday, which will be August the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, for that week's regular video, talking about what's been going on the last 7 months, what's going to be coming up on my YouTube channel. I've got some more videos coming your way. So I probably might do that Tuesday in place of a regular video. So, without further ado, I'm actually going to be using the Xedit software that comes with my Digitech RP355, which is what I'll be using today. Had it for a long time, still playing like a dream, still love it. I've just got a few settings on there I usually just stick with, and then I don't do a lot of tweaking since I've got pretty much everything the way I like it set up. But I'll be using that to switch some things around because I'm going to get the looper going, playing those 2 chords, and just soloing over it and talking about what's going through my head, the thought processes and things like that. So a lot of this was brought about by watching a recent Steve Vai course that he's got going on right now at True Fire. I rushed out and bought that just as soon as I heard about it because he just don't do a lot of teaching as far as where you can sit down and watch him in a video and in a huge course like that. So I'll probably leave a link to that. Matter of fact, I'm going to probably just go ahead and take some notes here of what to leave on there so I do not forget. So Hangout, vid, link to Steve Vai course. All right, so let's go ahead and get started a little bit, okay? And got some new pins in that I'll probably be talking about this week too. I've been getting into fountain pens lately, but anyway, enough rambling. Today I'm also going to be using probably the John Petrucci, Diodario John Petrucci, the newest John Petrucci picks. I like these a lot better than the regular jazz picks. These are John Petrucci Jazz 3, but I like these better than the regular Jazz 3 because they're bigger. They got more surface area. I have been recently using the Dragon's Heart Wyvern model pick. Okay, I usually use it like this, where the logo's sideways, because I like this point. It gives me a nice little tip. But I was experimenting with today since my hand is so heavy playing bluegrass, and I was experimenting with it, and it just seemed like it slid off the string a little bit more than I liked. Although I do like the brushy sound that these picks give because of the material made of. The Delrin, I guess, is what it's made of. And you don't have that so much with the John Petrucci picks. It's a little more cleaner. But I don't know. I like the way that John Petrucci picks feel off the string a little bit better than these Dragonheart picks in particular. I've got a whole set of picks that I'm just experimenting with. So let's talk about these two chords. The two chords that I'm going to play. So for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and find a nice little clean channel. This one might be a little bit too much delay. We'll see what it sounds like. And I'll go ahead and play this chord for you. And while I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and adjust the camera and go ahead and actually first problems with Hangouts are used to making me sound like a chipmunk. So I would really like to check this out, and it's not doing that. Okay, so let me go ahead real quick and just pull this video up and see if it's playing right, and we'll find out. Because if it's doing a chipmunk thing, then that's going to be aggravating, because I've always had that problem. I think this video up. Good deal. See if it's all right. It is working. Okay, so the way around that, if you're ever on Hangouts on air and you need to fix it to where you don't have to worry about, if you've had the chipmunk mode problem, is when you get on the Hangout screen where it says start broadcast and you're getting everything ready, just disable your camera a couple times so that it gets used to the camera feed, and then it should play it just right. You want to test it a couple times, but that's what I did. And I tried to get the sound working from the camera. I'm using a Logitech C270, something like that. I forget what it's called, one of the older versions. And I tried to use the audio on that, but the audio wasn't coming through. So I just basically X'd out of that Hangout window and then just re-enabled it again, because I hadn't started the broadcast. Therefore, it didn't ruin that link that it was supposed to go to. So I could just reopen it. And I was doing this from the live events page in YouTube. I didn't start a live event. I just started an event. I didn't start a live stream. I started an event. And so that's a cool little way to do that if you ever run into any problems with that. So anyway, here is the sound that I've got now. I might pick a different one, but I'm going to go ahead and dip down the camcorder here, the camera, the webcam. And hopefully you can see this a little bit better. There, you can see my hand here, and you can see this. So here's the chord. Beautiful sound. Let's find another clean thing, though, because I don't really care for... This is the one that I really like. I call this preset Slushy. I'm using a Univibe effect in that. And I might make it a little bit more twangy. Let's go all the way to the top pickup up here. Okay, and then we're going to go down to the second position. Gives it a more strat sound. There's not any feedback or hum since it's not a distorted sound on the middle position. And that puts, let's see, just the middle pickup. Then we got the 3 and 4, which are these two. But that eliminates quite a bit of the bass. So I want some bass there. So I'm just going to put it probably on I like the strat sound. So I'm just going to do the middle pickup here. And tone knobs are all the way up. That is Slushy. If I put the, let's see, Ant B is probably a distorted sound. But I want a clean sound, okay? So we're going to do that. And to make it even more clean sound, I'm going to probably put the pickup switch on. So we're going to go the pickup selector switch effect where you're going humbucker to single coil. Oh, yeah, it's got a nice snap now. So we're going to do that for the loop. Now, before I do the loop, let's talk about what this chord is. I actually have this wrote down, and you can get a little bit technical when it comes to suspended chords versus add 9 chords. My definition is it's a suspended chord when there is no third present. That's the way I consider them to be. If you have a third and you add a second note or a ninth, then it's added ninth on top of the regular major or minor chord. So I'm considering this a G major 7 I was going to call it G major 9. It's a sus. That's a sus2, which would be a 9 if you know a little bit of music theory, how to count that. So I've got several places that I can play this chord. Okay, the one I really like the voicing of the most is when I put the G and the bass up here. Now, basically, you can think of this chord as a D with a G over it. So there's the A there. Here's another A. Okay. Usually I fret this like this. I play a G, then I'll lift the pinky. Then this finger will come down to that D string. Actually, no, the A string, and bar the bottom 3 strings. Okay. Now if I lift this finger, that is a D. Except this is barring that and taking care of what my regular finger would do usually. So I just take that D, add a G up here. A is not playing. I've got it muted, okay? Okay. I don't want that playing because I want the A to be prominent here in the bottom. And we don't have a third, so that's going to be a suspended chord in my way of looking at things. Okay, so up here, I'm going to consider this. We're going to use our pinky and put our finger on the pinky finger on the A string, 12, 11, 10th fret. Okay, so you can see that. And then we've got my finger is barring down here on the 7th fret from the, let's see, that's from the D string down. So I've got A, D, all the way down. I'm not playing the top string. And I am not playing the bottom string. I don't want that note to come out there. In this case, that would be, that's a G, A, B. That's a third there. But I don't want a third. I want that suspended sound. All right, let me see if that's right. Third. So what I'm doing here, and I do this a lot in bluegrass playing, in electric guitar playing, I find that I do this a lot. And if you're not used to doing this, you will need to get used to this because this is a very handy tip. And that is I'm using, let's see, using the bottom fingers here of my picking hand. In this case, most of the time I use the bottom 2. In this case, since I want to have more, strumming freedom, I'm using my pinky. So I'm grabbing onto that string. That way when I play this, my pinky is right there the whole time. And when my wrist goes down, my pinky goes out. When it comes up, I'm sliding forward. It's not that exaggerated, but just a little bit of a movement. Students this all the time. Get used to playing with that E string muted because there are plenty of chords you're going to run into that you want a big full strum, but you do not want to play that bottom string. You just don't want to do it. And as far as the top string, sometimes that goes in and I don't want it to. So these other 2 fingers, more specifically, most of the time the middle finger, is just lightly grazing that top string so you can't really hear it. Now, you can still hear a harmonic or something there, but that to where it's not playing. So I can play the whole chord and then the next chord from there is going to be an E minor of some sort. So that's that G major 7 suspended. Couldn't find the note I was looking for. Okay, so we got G major 7 suspended 9 or suspended. to E minor. Now, unlike the low note of this G, and then all of a sudden I hear this, that note is very prominent. So what I may want to do is just play it, and to keep those notes kind of sharing those notes with that G major 7 suspended. Then play this version of E minor with a suspended. Okay, so it shares those notes instead of going there. It might be too close, but then I can add that top E string. Or I can even go E minor 9, lift this finger. Don't really like the sound of that. I can add that and make it E minor. That was E minor 7, not 9. E minor 9 maybe here. Then you got maybe tuning issues, so probably just going to stick with either suspended or this one. Sometimes I go down to the low E minor. Okay, so that's the 2 chords. Now, the other voicing I thought about using for the G major 7 suspended is we have this one. Beautiful chord. And now I'm hearing some hissing there. You probably can't hear it there. It's so low, but I can hear it in mine. I'm going to stay with the middle pickup. But there's that version. There's this variation. Now, but notice it takes a while to get from here all the way over here. Okay? So there's all this area that's not being utilized. So I found some more variations of that. So instead of putting the bass note at G, I can move it back here and bar this and put the bass note here, because that's the 5th. But it almost sounds like a D, and you don't want to stay on that bass note forever because you want that G contact. So every now and then I'll go back to that bass. And plus I just like the sound of the bass going to that 9, that suspended. I mean, you hear that immediately. Okay, so there's that, and this is, if you wanted to broaden this out even further, this is just like a B-shaped bar chord. Okay, so, but let's see. Yeah, that's basically a D major. But in the context of this other stuff, if you'll just put a G over it, it'll sound like a G. All right, so, and the way to do that is you're going to take and use this big stretch. Now, typically, if I'm playing a minor chord, a minor 9, I'm going to take and bar this all the way across. This is G minor 9 in this instance. So I'm going to bar this all the way across. Then I'm going to take the middle finger, put it on the 5th fret. This is on the 3rd. And then this is on the 7th. So you got 3, 5, 7. All right. And you're barring all the way across, and this is a G minor 9. Okay. Play a little louder just in case you can hear it. But I want to make it major. And to get that major, it's hard to rearrange this. It's easy to do it with an E. When you start moving it up, it's tough. And so to get that sound, what we can do is now do that minor shape, but bar the pinky. And now we have the major 7 suspended. Okay, now listen for the variations. Here we have the higher notes being prominent, especially since it's on an E string. It's on a thinner string, so it's going to be more a brighter, tinier sound. So this bottom string is be more prominent. Over here we have, they're on the middle 4 strings, so Not a whole lot of tinny sounding, but to me, that E there sounds better, or that note sounds better there than, since it's a thicker string, it's going to have more resonance to it. Okay, so I like this one the best, but if you do this one, you got that low bass with the fifth in the middle, so it's not immediate like here, but it does still have a very nice sound. Once again, I'm muting the E string, so I'm not hitting it. I don't really like the sound of that third there. I want the suspension. And this, the whole point of this too is it gets us lower, close to that low E minor. This gets us close to this E minor. And as far as this goes, half step or a whole step up, and we got E minor again here. So there's variations to get to these different chords. You always want to come up with one or two different voicings, and by voicings I mean shape. In this instance, this is the inversion is with a G on the top, G on the bass here as well. Here the fifth is in the bass. Here the G is on the top. But there's different shapes, different voicings, okay? And that just gives you more options. So I've got this E minor and this E minor, and like I said, there's a gap in between, so what's another E minor? Well, I can use the one that looks like a D minor here. And then put my ring finger down. That's a D minor 7. If I take and do this, okay, there's D minor shape, and usually people do it like this, but I don't like the way that feels, so I'll put my ring finger, or pinky here. This finger goes on the D string, and if I've taken pressed both the D and A string here, the 7th is down there in the bass. Then you got the E in the bass. If you don't want to do that, you can just leave this finger on the D string and just slightly touch that A so that it mutes out. We got a whole good strum right here. So there's E minor here, E minor here. And that's just a D minor. If you don't know a D minor shape, go look it up. It should be in your repertoire. You should know it. Every guitarist needs to know D minor. So we got that one. This one. And then there's another shape here real quick. But that almost sounds too much like the G when I do that. And that's basically you're on the 7th fret, A string, middle finger. You're going to put the D string, first finger, 5th fret, and then G and B string, 7th fret to match this fret here. And you can now, since it's an E minor, you can use the top and bottom strings open. But then you got that a little dissonance there on the bottom of the string. So once again, I mute the bottom string. So together with this, but that's not much difference. What you could do is extend this finger out. Okay, and so instead of this, you've got a D minor, or an E minor. E minor 7 there. Okay, so you got E minor here, E minor here, E minor here, E minor here, all the way up and down. You can sit there and mess with all these different chords. Okay, so we'll just say that's the first part of this. Now we're going to actually get in here and mess around with some of the loops. We'll get a looper started here. And we're going to see how it works as far as trying to get the timing right. And then I can adjust what effects that I want to use, what presets I want to use, just to go back and forth and try soloing different things. And we'll talk about what I'm doing. That way I can start and stop the looper whenever I need to. All right, so let's try this together. I'm going to arm the looper and see what I can find out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, seamless. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the bass and give us a good bass sound to go along with this, okay? And let me practice it just a second. See, so I'm in G. Okay, so I can put that on the bass pickup here and do that. Crank the tone down more and go really basic. I'm going to put it about halfway so I can have a little bit of snap. See, I don't want to be too majory, so let's overdub that and see what we can come up with here. There we go. There's the overdub. Okay, so now we have a loop, and I can go back and just start messing around with different effects. One that I've recently made up is called Mr. Shred, and that's the one I used at the very front of this. And here's what Mr. Shred sounds like. Okay, so that's Mr. Shred. It's a little bit thick for my taste, but if I put that pickup simulator back on, let's see what it sounds like. So I'm going to leave it off. I can put my wah on there if I need to and just shred around with that. I've got all these other different things. I was going to tell you the amp that this is modeled after is Digitech Solo. The cabinet is the Digitech Solo 4x12. Everything is basically a mid boost on the equalizer there. Turn that off and it sounds weird. I'm getting where I like mid boost sounds a lot. So you can do a mid boost, you can do a scoop. It's basically what I had it on when I turned the equalizer off. Here's a bright setting. And then a warm setting. Which I can accomplish that by turning my volume, my knob down. Anyway, and that's on the bridge pickup. I do not want that on the bridge pickup. I want a nice bright sound. So I think I'm going to put this on bright. Just play around with that. Okay, so I think I'm going to put it on scoop. Bright sounds almost too Satriani-ish. and scoop sounds a little bit better. So we're just going to go with the scoop setting, and I would put some drums on this, but the looper, you can't enable the looper with the drums. So I haven't really got a name for this song. I just know that these are two chords that just will not leave my mind. I mean, I play these on my acoustic guitar. When I pick up my electric guitar, I play them. So eventually this may come out into some kind of song. I don't know. But let's talk about, not talk about, but let's go ahead and jam a little bit. And let's jam. All right. So I'm messing around with some lower third things here. All right. Let's try this and see what we come up with. Mess around with some volume here. Okay, so you're going to get an idea of what's going on in my head with that. Now, some tips on something like this. If you want to build a song and you don't know where to go with it, just sit and noodle around sometimes like this. Just get you a loop going or record it on your computer, on your iPhone. Well, I wouldn't say iPhone. Well, you can record on your iPhone, put it on your computer. You want to have some big, nice speakers where you can kind of play along, listen to it. Maybe you can even put your iPhone, nowadays, you can put them in, plug them into your amp and, you know, play it through your amp and jam along through that. Maybe that's something, an option you got there too. So one thing I would say is I would stress not to sit there and noodle around all day long. Give yourself time to breathe. I can't remember where I recently wrote about this, but I talked about allowing yourself to play as if you're playing a saxophone. In other words, people that play saxophone, they have to breathe. It's a wind instrument, so you have to breathe in order to play the notes. And there's that time, there's a little space in between those notes that you can pause, not only catch your breath, but come up with something in your head to play next. You can mentally catch your breath that way. And that's very important. The silence is just as important, if not more important, as the notes you play when you play music. You listen to a lot of the old blues players, and they would just let the music just play while they thought of something else to come up with on the guitar. And instead of playing a big flurry of notes, you know, you could play a couple phrases here and there, rest, come up with another couple phrases, rest, or play one or two really solid bends. Eric Clapton, to me, has always been one of the guys to hit a bend and just make it sing and just sit there and let that one note speak for volumes for a lot of different things. Okay, so and so what I would like to do is just let the melody play, and not the melody, but the song play, the looper, and figure out and just sit here and think in my head, what do I want to hear on the guitar? Now, if you know your scales and you kind of know your where you're at on the guitar, you can kind of in your mind hear what you want to play and know where it's at based on, you know, your notes that you're playing and your scales. I've been playing 20 plus years, so that kind of comes second nature. I don't know all the notes. I don't always know where to begin, but eventually I can find it, and then based on what scale that takes, that shape that takes, can go from there. So I'm going to let this play a little bit and just sit here and just ponder what I want to play next. And so you've heard the Mr. Shred. Now, what if I wanted to play a little bit softer? Let's say I wanted to play, let's find some settings here. Here's my little Texas setting. Let's see, I'm thinking of one right now called Smooth, Smoove, that I've made. Kind of like a Texas, kind of reminds me of Nick Johnston and his tone. So I'm going to switch it to there. Maybe I can play with it. Okay, so it's a bit loud, so I'm going to turn the volume down on the preset just a bit. Okay, so let's see what we can come up with there. All right, and I'm just going to let it play, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I move around with that for a while. And when I start noodling a little bit more, when I start, you know, filling in the gaps, I'm going to back off, because I don't want to sit there and just play whatever. I want to actually physically be in the moment. I want to think about what I'm doing. Now, that's a cool little riff that just came off the top of my head. I thought, let's work with that, you know. Okay, so I mean, I can sit there and work with that, and just try to phrase a lot with that. Try to just make that sound the best version of that I can. And not only that, but a lot of solos are made up of repeating the same phrase octaves higher. So let's find that somewhere else. Ooh, that didn't sound good. I like that. That was by accident. Now here's a common place to do that, because here's another cool thing. When you're going from G to E minor, you use the same scale shapes because they're relative and they have the same exact scale shapes, but they're starting on a different root. You start on the G to make it a G major sound. You start on the E to make it an E minor sound. And so I can use that minor pentatonic shape. And it makes it sound minor if I land on E. It makes it sound G major if I land on G. Okay, so I can find that up here in this position. And then since it's closer up to the edge of the neck here, the end of the neck, the strings are easier to bend, so I can put a bend in there, maybe for more expression the second time around. And then end up back down here again. And just find your notes. You kind of got to, hide and seek a little bit, try to find these notes. So and I may want to do that immediately, so I'm going to have to sit here and practice. So maybe I want it to be starting here. The cool thing about that is if you play an octave, find your note you're starting with. It's the same shape. Whole step. Whole step. So I could go. And then between that, I add an open B. Or, don't do that. That's quite a big bend. Quite a big bend to do that there. Okay, so here now. Don't need none of that. So let's see what else here. Another thing is not only the same shape, but if you can stay on the first shape, find which fingers you want to use and where. Do I want to slide here? Do I want to pull off, or do I want to pull off on this side? Do I want to leave my ring finger? Or do I want to leave with my first finger, thus enabling my ring finger to stretch out and hit higher notes if I need to? So maybe I want to leave my first finger there. Okay, so there's all kinds of that stuff goes in my head constantly. That's just noodling around, trying to find ways to embellish these songs that instrumental stuff that I come up with. And I'm sorry if I'm not hitting the notes just perfectly. My strings feel like they're kind of old, and they pretty much are. It's been a while since I've had these changed, and I'm not sliding like I would like to. But so now let's add some of that, just that one phrase, because we want to perfect that phrase. We don't want to just sit here and endlessly noodle on other things. And once we find what we're really going to do with that, then we can move on and sit here for a few minutes and say, okay, what would sound good with that? Okay, what would be, we're going to the E minor, so what would sound good with that? And eventually, yeah, I might make this song into a full, more than just 2 chords. But if nothing else, it's still a great jam track to play along with. You could use major scales in this. Lydian, I've tried Lydian, and it doesn't work that well, so here's what would be an example of some Lydian stuff. And that sharp 4 just does not sound very good at all with that. So I've basically stuck with major. You could probably even do some Mixolydian. I would recommend that. I would stick with major because it's shared with E minor. So you don't have to learn your new notes. You just have to land on the correct root. So I would stick with E major there. I mean, excuse me, G major and E minor, and maybe every now and then just tweak a note here in there chromatically, adding a note here and there chromatically or something like that. But since it is a major 7/9 or major 7 suspended, then one of the main notes that you can add in this is that that ninth, that second note there. So let's find those. So we're starting with the third. There's a second. There's our first. 1, 2, 3. So we can really squeeze that ninth note for all that it's worth. Okay, so let's practice some more of this. Wish I had my whammy bar of it now. Maybe I could change the phrasing. Obviously, I messed that up, so I'll practice that a little while. Yeah, right then it needed that bend. That's what I'm talking about. Little things like that, little nuances really speak volumes. Now, one thing I just accidentally did again is I hit that open note. So I do an open D, then an open B. Now, I'm sitting here trying to figure out which fingers I want to slide with because there's a certain sound that I want to achieve. Let's do that on that B string again. I may not want that to slide from there. I want to slide from the highest note all the way to the lowest note. But the problem with that is that my finger's here, and if I have to get to that highest note, it's coming all the way up here. And that open string allows you for a good split second to make that transition. I talk about open string transitions a lot in Bluegrass Guitar Essentials, and that you can find by going to the actual website, which is below here now on the lower third. Okay, so basically I take that, and I don't want to end up back here because I have to do a big shove all the way up to the top. Okay, so let's see. So I want to end eventually with my first finger. So that little choke there on the last note, enough there to give me time to switch my fingers. And then now my fingers are extended farther so that it's less of a reach from, say, here to here than it is from here all the way to here, okay? So you want to think about your fingering in position as you're working on stuff like this. So I got to figure out what I want to achieve. So slide up with the ring, slide back with the first. It's like your fingers are doing a little dance there. And then the problem is I've got it programmed now to do that ring finger all the way down here. But I've got to somehow switch to my first fingering. And that's the risk of that is when you want to try to make room for the previous finger so you overshoot the note. So it's just something to work on, work out. Okay, so let's listen to some more of this, and let's move on to a different phrase. We've done the. Okay, so now let's do that other part. Let's move on to that. See what we come up with that. I just can't. Let me stop for a second. I just cannot get enough of that chord progression. Isn't that beautiful? I love that chord. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. So let's try it again. So I want to hit that E. Now right there, I just came up with something completely different. Didn't even mean to. As soon as I hit it, as soon as I felt it, I'll follow through with it. So I just basically did that same lick in 2 octaves. Okay, so let's find that then. Okay, so that is, let's look at 8th fret, 7th fret. Depending on which one you want to bend that, I usually bend down. Okay, so I'm going from 7th fret jump on over 7th fret to the 9, slide back down. Then my ring finger is free to hit that 9th to 7th, 5th. Then repeat the same thing an octave down. Finally ended up at the E. Okay, so let's try that. And now I can work on that lick. Now I got a new lick to work on. I like this. I kind of got this ingrained in my head. And now I've got a new lick I can work on just by sitting here and practicing and fooling with some of this stuff. Okay, so let's just practice that one lick. That's about the timing I like to have. And you make sure you hit that other note too. That's a good thing I learned from Paul Gilbert, and it finally, you know, a light bulb went off in my head when I learned how to do this. And that is whatever shape you play in one octave, you can play the same kind of deal in the next octave. So if I play this shape, let's see. In this case, it's not the same shape because we're using a B string and a G string together. Because the tuning of the guitar, it's not the same, but you still have the same effect. Okay, so you kind of get used to different things like that. So now I've got a string of notes here that I can slowly build a song out of just with 2 chords. Okay. Now right there, I'd probably go to a C. To me, I'm hearing a C in my head. So I would generally build on that and go to a C next. Now, with me, I don't really read music very well, so I'm not going to sit here and spend the time writing it down. What I would do is just pick a series of the chords and just, you know, it's kind of like a natural number system. You have, you know, the bars of music. So how many ever bars of this chord, how many ever bars of that chord? And then when the chords change finally happen, that is where that's going to come in handy because you're going to need a direction as to when to change chords. As far as the melody, I don't want to sit here and tab all that out. So to me, I'll just commit that to memory. And what happens now is that every time I hear this, is that I'm going to hear. Okay, so I'm going to hear that every single time now because I'm sitting here and working on this and I'm like, that fits. That's what that needs to be. Okay. Let's see. There's something else I just thought of. And I'm actually liking this sound better than the shred. Let's go back to that shred sound. You know, obviously you'd like the shred for the, you know, fun factor of soloing, but I don't want this to be a flashy flare out, you know, all you can do solo. Now, I may do, you know, maybe have like two guitars, you know, going against each other. You got a soft and sultry, you know, smooth sound versus, you know, more of an attitude, you know, with that. Here's my Joe Bonamassa look-alike sound alike. So it's the same as smooth, just a little bit different. Here's my 80s patch. And that is the Digitech high gain amp and the Digitech Rock 4x12 cabinet model. Just to let you know, the smooth, this one right here, that one is, let me go back to turn it down just a hair. That one is an 81 Boogie Mark II. And the amp model and the cabinet model is Digitech alternate ALT 4x12. I'll add that you have a Mesa Boogie sounding like that. Usually it's, you know, the high gain stuff. Now if I switch the amps, I've got a Marshall Jump and then a British Green cabinet. But I like the other amp a little better. Okay, so I could use my China Doll that I modeled to sound like Steve Vai's song China Doll from his The Story of Light album. Get more of a, you know, chorusy sound. I can use my down low, my octave that I used for my Batitude song. But I don't really want that. That smooth is just about right for me. Now, this is kind of like maybe a Joe Satriani-esque sound. Just the phrasing, like I think of Rubina, you know, when he goes that E minor, and he holds some of those notes. It just sounds like a Joe Satriani-esque lick to me. And so let's just take a little bit longer here. I hope you guys are learning a lot of stuff in this kind of, you know, this is when it's fun to improvise, okay? Let me sip of some sweet tea there. This is when it gets fun to improvise, when you can sit back and just jam, just have fun. And that's when you're going to really learn a lot of stuff. To me, I sit and noodle a lot, but I just find myself doing a lot of the same old stuff. And you want to kind of break out of that rut. And one of the best ways to do it is just sit there, pick a jam track, and just really think about the process. Because if you don't think, you're going to be relying on things that you don't have to think about, things that are easy to you, things that you've used for years. And when you have to force yourself to think, okay, here's what I want to have happen, here's what the sound I'm going for, then the wheels start turning. And because of that, it's like learning a Steve Vai song or a Joe Satriani song or a Tony Rice song. You're learning a song for the first time because you're creating it for the first time. I didn't have any of this planned before I started recording this, except for those two chords. And that's it. I didn't have a melody. I've been soloing and trying to figure out stuff on this for days, and now I think I'm settled onto what this is going to be, and it's going to be that melody. I don't even know what to call it yet, but you know, that's probably going to be what's going to happen. And I'll probably sit here and flesh this out a couple of weeks. Just have fun learning new licks that I didn't know were there before. Like I said, that's where it compares to learning like a new tune. Is you learn new licks, you learn new phrases, and by me doing this, I'm going to be doing that. Okay, so let's do a little bit more of this, and I'm going to stick with smooth for the sound. Everything else is mostly, you know, kind of high gain stuff. Yeah. I want to, hold on a second, just seeing something. I want to see what it sounds like. Chimey. Here's one of my pleading settings. I bet that'll sound good with those chords. Maybe not. That's very high, you know, delay. Okay, so let me mess with my wah pedal here. and see what we can come up with that. Or I've got a yaw-yaw pedal sound too. I don't know if that'll be good or not. So let's go back here to mess with that. Let's connect to my volume pedal. I'm going to change the wah style. I don't really care for that. Try Clyde wah. Better. I like how you get feedback from the wah. Let's emphasize that ninth note a little bit. Now, if I let my wah pedal where it is, gives me a nice feedback sound. It's about halfway position. That's a lick I might want to work on. Some threes. Little sequence patterns you work on. And after a while, you forget the wah's even there. Little dynamic positioning for you. Let's go back to the, I've been noodling around a lot. Let's go back to the main solo here. On top of my head right there. That's another lick to work on. It's just like the one we just did, kind of. So for the D string, it's going to be 0, 2, 4, 0, 4, 4, 5, 0, 5, 7, 0, 5, 0, 7, 9. And then this is a pentatonic. Basically, I'm just doing pentatonic. I'm not really messing with a whole lot of major stuff. It's going to be 0, 9, 12. And so we're going to do that same thing. That's the 6. To me, the 6 don't sound very good here, but in passing, as a fast lick, then it's all right. It's something to practice slowly first. And then you work on it backwards. Okay, now with the B string, it's a little different. I really like that note. That's a, what is that, a C note, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the 6th again. I really care for that note, but we can only, we can decide not to go there, and we just stay up in the 3rd fret area. So for this, it's going to be 0, on the B string, it's going to be 0, 3, 5, 0, 5, 7, 7, 8, 8, 10, 10, 12. And then if you want to go higher, 12, 15. And a good way to memorize that is all of them are whole steps except for here in the middle, 7, 8, and then the very last, it's a whole plus a half. Minor third interval. Okay, so you can sit there and work on stuff like that all day long. And right now I've been doing this for probably about an hour and a half or close to it. So, and that's what I really want to get across today in this little hangout is I wanted to work on this song number 1. Just a little, you know, little secret there. It's not just a lesson. I knew I could learn a lot of stuff by doing this, and I wanted to share that with you. So, but I really want to figure this song out. Really want to sit down and think about what I'm doing, and it was very nice to be able to do that. So, I've got my melody now. Now it's just getting the fingers to work together the way they need to, and I was just switching my pickup. That's what the difference in sound was. Okay, guys, so I think it's going to do it for me. Right now it is 10 till 1 in the morning, but I've had fun. I've had a blast jamming with you guys, and I hope you got a lot out of this. I think this is going somewhere with this song. So probably see you guys Tuesday. Like I said, nothing happens. May just go ahead and plan on doing this another Hangout Tuesday to let you know about, like I said, the pen that I referred to earlier. Very nice fountain pen here, and other things that are going on. But I'll give you a link to that Steve Vai video in the description below if you'll just check that out. The course that I was using, watching him teach is amazing in this course. And it's a free trial for like 30 days. So you have all access pass for 30 days before you have to pay anything. And they give you like a big discount code and all this other stuff too. But I'm also watching an Andy Timmons guitar course called Electric Expression. Steve Vai's is called Alien Love Secrets, Passion and Warfare, because he's just recently released the 25th edition of Passion and Warfare, along with Modern Primitive, which I've been listening to today, and I can't get enough of that CD. It's very, very good. But anyway, before I start rambling, I'll see you guys in the next video, whatever that may be. And to all you out there on my Texas Blues, or not Texas Blues, but my Totally Free Guitar newsletter, thanks so much for being a subscriber to that. And I know it's been a while since I've seen an electric guitar video, but I'm excited to finally have something out there to send you guys. For those of you that have already went through all 60 plus videos of the course, for you that are just beginning it, then you still got a long way to go, but you got plenty of material there to use. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Like I said, I've got a lot of videos coming up. One that I recently did at the Smithville Jamboree. I didn't win anything, but at least I went back and competed, and I'm excited to bring that to you, as well as a few more of the videos that I'll talk about then. So once again, check out secretsofTexasBluesGuitar.com. Okay, check that out. And also, if you would, check out Bluegrass Guitar Essentials if you're interested in learning bluegrass guitar, which is what, probably 80% or so of this YouTube channel is made up of. And then last of all, please check out ericbeatty.com, my official blog. I've got almost 50 posts on there since I started this last year, I believe it was. Maybe it's the year before that, but there are all kinds of stuff I keep finding to write about, and it's been a wonderful experience writing different things and just being creative, altogether. That's when I'm most, I guess, myself, is when I'm sitting creating something, whether it be thinking about it, pondering about it, actually writing, playing guitar, just having fun. Making something new. I mean, it's a huge joy, tremendous experience, and tremendous gift when you think about it. So, guys, it's hard to say goodbye. I know it's been so long since I've had one of these Hangouts, but I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I don't think I had any viewers tonight. I'm sorry I didn't really set up an event for this or anything like that. Usually when I set up an event, it's like a big hassle, and, I don't know. I just don't follow through with it, seems like, or I have problems and all other kinds of stuff, mess around with it. But this has been playing along, not playing along. It's getting late. My head's starting to go crazy on me. Well, I have to type it in again if I do that. So anyway, this has been learning a song or building a song, starting with just 2 chords. Okay, with just 2 chords, and we had so much fun with this. So, guys, I'll see you on the next video series. Hopefully, I won't be waiting between Hangouts to do some more of these. I know you guys like them, but for now, I'm going to stop the broadcast and hopefully cross every finger and toe that it turns out Until the next video, keep playing, keep those fingers working the fretboards. And thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Have fun playing, and God bless. Oh, by the way, sorry I've been looking to the side because the camera's over here, and it's always more fun to watch your hands, watch what you're doing, than to watch the camera. So looking straight at you, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. God bless.